get started, I'm going to read the ground rules for this evening. The candidates have been given them prior to hand, and they are also been given a couple of questions. From there, we'll start our discussion and our question and answer, and feel free to fill out a card if you would like. Welcome to Commons Lane. I'm going to sit down to moderate it just as you would see a forum on TV, so I apologize for coming back to you, but welcome to Commons Lane. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, the Commons Lane Parent-Teacher Group is sponsoring the final Meet the Candidate Forum for the Ferguson-Florissant Board of Education. My name is Will Ricker, and I have the honor of serving students, staff, and parents at Commons Lane as principal. I will be the moderator for this evening. First, I would like to acknowledge and thank Ms. Evelyn Levitt, the Commons Lane Parent-Teacher Group President, for organizing and hosting the event. Ms. Levitt, please. The Commons Lane Parent-Teacher Group encourages all registered voters to engage in the election process by casting a vote on April 8th for the Ferguson-Florissant School Board of Education election. The structure for this evening's Board of Education candidate forum will be divided into two sections. The first portion will include 3 questions in which the candidates have been given in advance. The questions are as follows. What do you believe is the role of a Ferguson-Florissant School District board member? What is your vision for the Ferguson-Florissant School District? What specific steps do you wish to bring to the Ferguson-Florissant School District to ensure full accreditation? Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to each of these questions. The second portion will include questions from our audience. If an audience member would like to ask a question of all of our candidates, they must submit their question in writing to Ms. Levitt. The Commons Lane Parent-Teacher Group has provided pens and note cards. We will attempt to ask as many audience questions as time permits in a dignified, respectful manner. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond to audience questions. If candidates have questions they would like to present, they will be permitted just as the audience is. At the end of the questions, candidates will have 2 minutes to close. Prior to coming to the stage, candidates drew cards for order to be seated. This order will determine which candidates answers the first question. The order of responses will be rolling for the subsequent questions. Time for responses will be displayed on the computer monitor near the stage. We ask the audience conduct themselves in a cordial manner and refrain from applause during the event, except for right now as we introduce the 2014 Ferguson-Florissant School District candidates for School Board of Education. I will introduce the candidates and we will begin the questions. To my left, I have Donna Paulette Thurman. Next, Mr. Willis Johnson Jr. Next, Rob Chabot. Next, Paul Morris. Next, Kimberly Benz. Next, James Sabal. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll start with Ms. Donna Paulette Thurman. What do you believe is the role of a Ferguson-Florissant School District board member?
Board member is a part of a team. The board member, an individual, cannot make decisions on their own. They're part of a team that has to collaborate to make the decisions that need to be made on the board. The responsibility of the board is to, number 1, hire and put in place a qualified superintendent. Then they are to monitor and make sure that goals are set for the district. And then they have to make sure that we are balancing the budget. We need to make sure that our budget is balanced at all times, so fiscal solvency is very important. We must monitor student achievement at all times, because the big responsibility is to make sure that our school district is accredited. We must be accredited. And not only provisionally accredited, right now we are accredited, but we want to be accredited with distinction. So I feel that my responsibility is to oversee that, to make sure that the superintendent is monitoring and making sure that the principals and the job that they need to do. Our job is not to run the district. We need to put that responsibility on the superintendent, but to make sure that he is doing the job that needs to be done to serve the entire community. It is very, very important that we are vigilant and that we are good stewards of your finances and the community. We must make sure that we communicate with the community, make sure you know what's going on at all times, and make sure that we are doing the right thing so that, first of all, our property values are protected, but above all, our students are getting a quality education. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, what do you believe is the role of a Ferguson Forest and School Board member?
Mr. Rock, moderator, thank you to our whole school and to all of you. Good evening. I'm FFSD Johnson Jr., and I believe that the role of board director, particularly for the Ferguson Forest School District, is one of leadership. It is one that requires us to be leaders in this community on behalf of this great school district, serving in a capacity of advocacy. I like to frame it as that we need to be friend raising. We need to make sure that the rapport and the relationship between leaders, both for the school district and the larger community and constituency, are growing and improving and being strengthened at every turn. We also have a responsibility as fiduciary agents to be responsible for the resource development and stewardship and management of this great district. And we should take the leadership in knowing, but also making decisions and structuring and leading and informing that larger community as we make those decisions. Finally, we have responsibility not only friend raising or advocacy, not only fundraising, resource development and quality stewardship, but we have a responsibility to make sure that we are leading and guiding this great district and its constituents to greater heights and to deeper depths, to a brighter day. And so our job strategically is to make sure that this system and its functions and its constituents are in good position to be led, to be sustained. We also need to make sure that those things like accreditation and all that are in place so that we have a bright and good future. So fundraising or friend raising in terms of advocacy, resource development, stewardship, fundraising, and then lastly, forecasting and sustainability of our district are the principal responsibilities of a board of director candidate. And I look forward to not only receiving your questions this evening, but I look forward to having your vote on April 8th.
Mr. Chabot, what do you believe is the role of a Ferguson Forest and School Board member?
I think there's two things. One is a partner. When I ran for school board 3 years ago, I ran as a parent, as a citizen, as a business owner in the district. I felt my goal was to partner with every element of our district to make this district a better place. I ran to give voice to the students, so that way when the board passes policy, when the board approves budget items, that we have that student in mind and the classroom in mind as we make those decisions. I'm also believe that we should be an advocate for every citizen of our district. Every senior citizen, homeowner, the rich, the poor, the educated, the uneducated, everybody. In this Ferguson Forest School District, we accept everybody. The second part, I believe, that the responsibility of Ferguson Forest School Board member is oversight. And as a result of that, we have to be in a position or willing to make those tough decisions when called upon. We must hold people accountable when needed by setting the goals and expectations, and when they are not met, to put the proper thing in place to hold them accountable. Keep it as simple as possible. So I believe we are partners in the community, and we also provide oversight.
Mr. Morris, what do you believe is the role of a Ferguson Forest and School District board member?
Well, first of all, I believe that my role is to represent the patrons of this district with the school district. To whether the patron is 90 years old or 9 years old or 9 months old. I need to be able to represent them. I need to be able to think like a patron. I've lived here for almost 28 years now, and I am very invested in this district, and I want to make sure that what the board members do is correct for everybody in the district. Main responsibility of the board member is of course, the superintendent. It's our single employee. We hire that superintendent, we evaluate that superintendent, and it comes time to make a tough decision, when it comes time to do the right thing for the district, you need somebody in there that's willing to do that. Students. Part of the responsibility of the board is to make sure that the environment for the students is one that's conducive to learning, and to make sure that they are taken care of, that they have the tools that are necessary for them to succeed. And those tools are provided by finances. And so you gotta tie it all together. You gotta bring the package when you're on the board. You gotta work with your other board members, you have to work with the superintendent, you have to work for the good of the district. Finances is probably the hardest part, simply because we don't control property values, we don't control anything that can bring in revenue to speak of. We do create a little bit of revenue, but not much. But finances, making sure the students are taken care of, and making sure the patrons are represented in the district. Thank you.
Ms. Benz, what do you believe is the role of a Ferguson-Florissant School District board member?
Well, good evening. First and foremost, I would say that a school board member's job is to be on behalf of the community. We are the voice of the community. If we stop being the voice of the community, or we don't respond to the community, then we're not truly representing you. In that sense, the board sets the tone. Right now, we're really at a turning point for our district. We are going to be selecting a new superintendent, which makes this election ever more important. And then we're also in the process of the strategic planning process. And with the strategic planning process, we're talking about accreditation, we're talking about budget issues. And so when it comes to making cuts, we're going to have to probably make some hard decisions. But it would be our role as a school board member to make sure that those decisions don't compromise the academic achievement of our students, first and foremost. And I am a parent. I have 4 kids in the district. And personally, I don't want to see any programs go. But I also know that if our kids don't have books in their classes for their subjects, then they're not going to be able to learn. Or if we don't have qualified teachers that are in our classrooms and are energized and know that they have a board and a community that are supporting them, then we're not going to have students achieving. And so I think that the board sets the overall tone for the entire district, and we reflect you.
Mr. Sabala, what do you believe the role of a Ferguson-Florissant School District board member?
Thank you. Thanks for having me today, and thank you all for coming out. I find that the role of the board member today's time, maybe it's changed slightly. I think we have to adjust to what's going on in our district community. And I think that's happening in all phases of our country. And school boards throughout the entire states have run into different challenges. Several mentioned several times on our previous speakers that truly we look over the direction of our school, of the items put in place. And we have great ideas. We've been to a lot of strategic meetings, and the principals regularly do come in, and they've led with some great programs. You have a new program where children or young students seek opportunities instead of going to college, they can go to trade schools. Those are new things that we always see to make sure that our graduation of our students are at a higher rate. It's been spoken about the teachers in the classroom where safety, new issues, some of those things may be changing now, but in our community things have just changed recently. I think the board now needs a little bit more integrity throughout our community. I think there's been a little loss of trust there. We know the duties that we have to be managing everything. Make sure our students graduate, make sure our principals get what they need from us, and the policies that are in place already. But we have to consider the community in our decision making. I know we have to make tough decisions, but incorporated in that now, considering the community. because of the time that we're living in, because of how the public feels. So those are new avenues that we have to deal with. And also, we have to look for a superintendent. We know that. We're looking for a great superintendent. I think we all have to work together on the board. You may hear contrast. But get together. It's going out. When we get together, we'll be able to make the decision. And I'm going out off and on. But we're the serving and task of a super school board member is very, very tough.
Okay, the next question starts with Mr. Johnson, 2 minutes as well. What is your vision for the Ferguson Florissant School District?
First of all, when you speak of vision, we're looking longitudinally. We're looking many years, not just now, but in the years to come. And I think one of the things that we celebrate in this community is that we have a legacy and history of doing great work and doing great things collectively. And so I want that to be our mantra, to continue not only to grow and get stronger, but to propel ourselves and our district into a stronger position, into a vibrant position. What that means, real quick, is simply this. First of all, we want equity to be present throughout the whole system of the district, and that takes shape in a lot of different forms and fashions, and we can be specific as we go on. But equity is not a bad word. It just simply means that everyone has a role and responsibility, a pride, a share, a part to play. So whether that's from the professional staff to the leadership board, all the way down to you on your block, all of us have a role and responsibility in the education and the empowering of our children and the sustainability of the district and the systems that will do that. So I hope that we commit to that as a community, as a people. I hope that we will continue to be about the business, however we get to that point of being of excellence in education. I think we have some benchmarks. Obviously, you'll hear the buzzword continuously tonight, accreditation. There are benchmarks that we are going to come to agreement upon that will speak to whether or not we're achieving that excellence or that sense of excellence in our district. And then lastly, I hope that we continue to develop a culture or an environment, not only in our schools, but in our larger community that is inviting, that is endearing, that is empowering, that is doing the work of strengthening and more importantly, giving hope to all who come in. Whether you've been here 40 years, you've been here 3 years like me, whether you have children in the district or not, you want to make sure that this is the best and most vibrant place you can be. So that's my vision for Ferguson Florissant.
Mr. Chabot, what is your vision for the Ferguson Florissant School District?
My vision is quite simply a school district where people choose or parents choose to send their children versus choosing to move out of the district. Over the last 10 years, we've lost 1,000 students. That does not include the numbers that came in from Ruby Gardens or Normandy. The population in our school district is aging. People are moving away. What I'm hoping for is a district where there's cooperation, that we work as one group, as a unity, as a community. And it's one of the reasons why this board had insisted on putting in a long-term strategic plan. Something we had been talking about for 3 years. We finally started implementing it. The committees are meeting. There's engagement. And it's something that we must continue. That's also why we also put together our first foundation, our education foundation. So this brings people together from the community, business owners, parents, anybody who has a stake in our district, to raise money and to supplement and be part of this district. I also have a vision that we create a positive learning environment for every student that comes to our schools. That they're safe and they are in an environment that's going to give them the most productive day possible. That is my vision for the district.
Mr. Morris, what is your vision for the Ferguson Florissant School District?
My vision is one where schools are focused on student needs, students' abilities, creating an environment where a student can be the most productive he can be when he comes or she comes to our door, that they can feel safe, that they can learn, and they can do it without disruption. I see a school district where discipline is not an issue. where teachers are supported in their classroom, where principals are supported in their buildings, where we create environments for students to learn in whatever environment they need to do to be successful. Sometimes that's in the same building, sometimes that's in a different building, but we need to make every student successful. We need to make every student want to come to school. I see high schools where we are truly focused on what our careers are. Schools where I would like to create a high school where a student walks across the stage and gets his high school diploma and walks the other end of the stage and gets his junior college diploma on the same day. I believe that that kind of school will attract parents to this district. And that's what we need. We need more people who want to come, not more people who want to leave. And so I look to have schools that are focused on education and learning, and that is what I would like to have in our district.
Ms. Benz, what is your vision for the Ferguson-Florissant School District?
My vision for Ferguson-Florissant is that I want us to be the role model district. I don't want us to be looking at other school districts and saying, what are they doing? I want other districts to look at us and say, what are they doing when they're so successful? We've had blue ribbon schools. We've been innovative. The Parents as Teachers program, for instance, that started here in Ferguson-Florissant. That's what I want to get back to. I want to get back to our district setting the bar high, and not being afraid to try different things. We need to focus on the individual students. Not every student is college bound. We talked about this at the very first forum. Some students their career path is going to be in the trades. We are already on that path where we offer more options to be able to get those technical skills. We need to go above and beyond. Let's start being cooperative. Let's get a cooperation going. With Rankin Technical College, with other areas, other schools in the area. But what we need to do is we need to set the bar. And I think we can do it. I know we can do it. And I've grown up in this district, and I don't want to keep saying that, but I've seen this district do wonderful things, and I believe in the district. And so that I think we can keep doing that.
Mr. Savala, what is your vision for the Ferguson-Florissant School District?
My vision for the Ferguson School District is really enticing them to come back to our district. We have a great district. We are accredited right now, but there's a bad perception out where it kind of hit the news at the wrong time. But my vision is to entice them to come back to Ferguson-Florissant School District. That is the reason why we moved into this district and stay in this district, because of the school system. There are great schools, there are great teachers, and that needs to be heard throughout the community, broadcast out to other regions, that Ferguson-Florissant still has it, despite of what they may hear or perception-wise. So I think that's a strong goal, and people just don't come back because you've done some internal work. That has to be known. So something has to be done to get that out. I think there's energy that needs to be put toward that, opposed to allowing the media to say what they want to say about us. We enjoy our community. We are a biracial community. We love living with each other. Our property value is great. But our school system, it's just so we see the black guy, that's it. And I would like to change that perception and move into a direction where people want to come to Ferguson-Florissant. And we have enough families and children in our district who attend private schools. How can we draw them back? Another goal of mine is that second, third, and fourth grade period of learning, vital. I've seen so many great works of students who are able to learn at that age and take it on to 6th, 7th, and 8th, 10th grade, to where they learn how to, they learn early. There's a connection piece that needs to happen. There's some more parent involved. Working on that though, there needs to be energy put towards that. I think I bring that to the table, trying to tap into that just a little bit more, showing love to our children. If you give them a sign of appreciation, they do well. You're patient with them, they do well. But I think one of the biggest things for us is we have a huge district, we have a lot going on. And to get out there that we are still accredited and that we're moving in the right direction, and we are the right direction. I mean, Vince just spoke on it. We go in that direction.
Ms. Thurman, what is your vision for the Ferguson Florissant School District?
My vision, first and foremost, is to have a district where every child, every parent feels empowered, feels welcome, and knows that when they enter the school, they're entering an environment where they are wanted and where they're going to get quality education. We are a wonderful school district, and we have been on the cutting edge for so many years with so many different programs, especially our early childhood program. I want us to set the standard so that other people are looking at us and saying, hey, what are they doing to make sure that all of their students are succeeding? If you will look at some of the data that's been put out through the school district, we have schools who are making 100 and schools that are making 30%. Why is there such a large gap? We need to bring that gap, we need to bring it up to here. And I think that we can do that. I know that we can do that. I want to see a school district where the teachers, the morale is high, where the teachers want to come to work and the teachers want to work with the children. I know that there are other things that affect that, like discipline in the classroom, but we can work with that. If the children know that they're loved and they know that the teachers care about them and the parents are involved, we can make this a premier school district. I know that we can. I know that some of this takes money, but the things that I've talked about, they don't cost. It doesn't cost anything to do that. Some things do cost, and I know that that's just practical. We do have to have the money there. But just the idea of having a culture of community, a culture where the community knows that the school, these are diamonds. Every school in this district is a diamond. Every child in this district is important. Every child must be successful. Thank you.
Mr. Chabot, we'll start with you for the third question for 2 minutes. What specific steps do you wish to bring to the Ferguson Florissant School District to ensure full accreditation?
Well, the first step, and it's the most important role of the Board of Education, that's to hire an experienced superintendent. A superintendent that can hit the ground running, a superintendent who has experience in overcoming very difficult financial situations, a superintendent who has the ability and the experience to work in a school district such as the Ferguson Florissant with a wide variety of different academic levels. A superintendent that can bring a community together and can reach out to every element of it, let it be the parochial side, the business, the various churches, anybody in the community, but to unite them. That will be the most important step that we can do for the school district. What we're also going to be doing this year for the first time will be testing in the middle school for the science and social studies. We did not take advantage of the 20-plus points that were available to us last year in those areas for the upcoming math testing, and it's something we're going to be taking advantage of this year. The second one, MSET 5 is going to create some new opportunities for us, and at the same time, there's also some challenges. With MSET 5, it's all going to be on a point system. So where if you have these students that are at below basic and basic, you get greater points for those individuals and you can push them up, which really helps our standing in the district and the accreditation. But there's also the other side of it that I'm always concerned about, is that we're putting so many resources into the below basic and the basic students. There's also a large group of students out there in proficient and advanced that could easily be forgotten about. So I'm looking for a superintendent that will come in and actually be able to focus not on just those below basic and basics, but also put the same amount of attention and focus on those students that are proficient and advanced.
Mr. Morris, what specific steps do you wish to bring to the Ferguson Florissant School District to ensure full accreditation?
Well, again, as Mr. Chabot said, we are giving for the middle school a math and science test this year. That was a point that the previous administration did not do, and in conversations, I really questioned why, because it put our district into a situation where we're on the borderline, and we didn't need to be there. We could have easily taken it and been way above, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. So that's the first thing we're doing right now. We've already put that into place. But going back to the vision, or what I said of the vision, is creating that atmosphere where students can learn. If you don't have that, accreditation is not going to happen. It's that simple. And if there's too many distractions, if there's too much commotion going on, students are not going to learn. Teachers are spending too much time trying to get the classroom under control, and they have not been supported nearly as much as they should have been. And so, if we can get that under control, the accreditation will come easily, because students will have time to focus, students will have time to learn, and that is my vision for accreditation.
Ms. Benz, what specific steps do you wish to bring to the Ferguson Florissant School District to ensure full accreditation?
Well, first of all, with the new MSIP 5 that Mr. Chabot had pointed out, there are 5 key components when it comes to our accreditation, what our accreditation is based on. First is assessment. That is actually broken into regular testing, overall testing, and then the subgroups as well. And then college readiness, graduation rates, and attendance. Now attendance, first of all, I'm going to go backwards here. First of all, with attendance, that's the one thing that we actually have the least control over. But one of the things that we can do is we can let parents really understand, or let them really know how attendance impacts their student and the district as a whole. And it really, so they know the importance of getting their students to school. Graduation rates, going back to my vision, graduation rates, we need to have our students be goal-oriented. We need to make sure that our students from kindergarten, we're talking about careers, we're talking about what are you going to do, we're talking about, even all the way in high school, all the way through high school, it's not just go to college, it's also, okay, well, college isn't your thing, and what else would you like to do? And make sure that they're on the right path so that they have that goal of graduating. Because if they're not personally goal-oriented, it's going to be harder to have them want to graduate. And then college readiness, again, and assessment. Assessment, our district is actually on a path of the assessments and stuff, because right now we're working on data teams and the strategic plan. And so with the data teams, really with that, I want to focus on what programs work and what programs don't, and make sure to streamline the programs that work throughout the district.
Mr. Savala, what specific steps do you wish to bring to the Ferguson Florissant School District to ensure full accreditation?
I believe one of the key components is our parent involvement. There's a connection piece there that's lost. We have different type of community, people moving in, people moving out. So we need to connect with that child who has trouble bringing in their homework in. And that's connected to the parent, especially at a very young age. That's the area where I think Mr. Moore spoke on that students don't do well, we don't gain accreditation. We must tap into that area, spend more energy in that area for those parents and how vital it is. How do we corral them and make it so important to them that education, their grades, their attendance is vital to the community? How do we tap into that area? I think there's more energy put into that. There's program that the strategic team has come up with in the sense of they don't have to go right to college. I think that's one, that way that child's not thinking college is forced upon him in the 6th and 7th grade. He can go to, let's say, something simple as barber school, but it keeps him in the classroom, it keeps him focused. Ranking, tech school, and all those schools, they come out making good money, they see it. We can track some of the students who've been successful at that coming out the next year or so. Tap into that area to where students can see that actually happen, opposed to just forcing them to college. The superintendent is going to be so vital. Our students, especially for the students, the teachers, they're excellent. They can move on probably with any superintendent that we have, but our children really, they got hurt last time, let's say that, because there was a connection, a love piece there. They were very connected to that piece. So that new superintendent needs to be someone that they trust and they want to see confidence in. Doesn't matter who they are, but they must bring that ability to connect to our students that they were connected to before, and we shouldn't lose that, and that's the element of where they learn and they feel confident that we're thinking of.
Ms. Thurman, what specific steps do you wish to bring to the Ferguson-Florissant School District to ensure full accreditation?
Part of what the board needs to do is to make sure that we monitor everything that's going on in the district and all of the things that we're doing, the data teams and looking at the benchmarks and making sure that our teachers are informed and they know what's expected of them and the principals as well. The MSEP 5 sets a standard for us, and these are things that we do have to follow. Of course, the 5, Ms. Vance has already named the academic achievement, subgroup achievement, college attendance, and graduation rates. One of the things that I want to speak on is the subgroup. The subgroup achievement has always been an area that teachers, and I'm speaking now as an administrator, I'm a retired administrator, that's really kind of difficult, but it can be done. When we talk about the subgroups, we're talking about students with IP, students who have English as a second language. We need to make sure that we are watching what's going on with them, and not just them, but their families, that we're tapping into the parent piece, making sure that the parent understands what's expected of the student, and then making sure that we follow up on everything that we can do to make sure that they feel successful in the way that they can be successful. We also need to make sure that if we're not making the benchmarks, if we're not making those benchmarks when we need to find out why we're not making them. I brought it up earlier. There's some schools that are really doing it well. We need to find out what they're doing so that we can take it to the other schools and make sure that then they can follow up and do the same thing that they're doing at one school. They can do the school that's making 100% and the school that's making 30%. We have the resources here, and we need to tap into those resources and use those resources.
Mr. Johnson, what specific steps do you wish to bring to the Ferguson-Florissant School District to ensure full accreditation?
This is a great question to be last on. I see your eyes getting heavy and looking a little overwhelmed with all this jargon. Respectfully, I'm pretty pragmatic, I'm pretty simplistic. There's a lot of stuff, respectfully, that we're talking about we'd love to see happen, but that's not what we do as board of directors, okay? Our job, first of all, in helping to make sure accreditation is met, is the best thing that you can help us do and we can do once you've elected us to provide leadership is to create some sense of stability, okay? So that from top down, people are in place so that whatever plan of action we take, we ensure the continuity and the continuum of it so there's not those disruptions across the board so that the plan can be actuated and be realized. So we as leaders can begin by creating some sense of stability. We need to source and support whatever the plan of action is that comes from leadership. We've already, I think by consensus, acknowledged that we're going to trust, whether that's the interim or superintendent, with the responsibility of leading this district and holding his or her team across the board accountable and working to make sure that whatever the objectives and benchmarks, they're going to be met. But the best thing that we can do is ensure that there's the resource and the actual support, and then lobby and work with you so that across the board, at the school level and the community all the way down, you're getting the support you need as a principal, you're providing the support and resource you need as a leader among parents and all the way across. And then lastly, I think we just need to be about the business. We talk about governance, we talk about oversight. Our job is to survey. We're looking at 30,000 feet. We've got to ask the tough questions, and I don't know the history. I'm not calling anyone out, but one of the questions I had, I was like, why didn't we veto if we knew we had easy points? We just, that kind of stuff. We just need to be ready to lead and do that with the trust of the leaders that we put in place.
Thank you. That concludes the advanced questions. I'm going to go through the 1-minute questions submitted from the audience. I'm trying to compile these. Audience members, this is the last call for your questions. Please submit them to Ms. Levitt. First question goes to Mr. Morris. And numerous constituents and audience members asked, what qualities and characteristics are you looking for in the next superintendent? This will be a 1-minute answer that all of you will get to ask. So repeat the question. What qualities and characteristics are you looking for in the next superintendent?
Next superintendent is going to have a very tough task in front of him or her. They're going to have to lead this district through the accreditation process to make sure that we stay accredited, and that's going to be a tough move. I'm looking for a superintendent who has open lines of communication with everybody, the board, the staff, the students. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for a superintendent who can make tough decisions and also take those decisions and make them his own. Whether they fail, whether they work, he needs to take responsibility, or she needs to take responsibility for him. I'm looking for a superintendent that you can trust anything that is said, that you don't have to question. You don't have to wonder what's behind it. That's what I'm looking for in a superintendent.
Ms. Benz, what qualities and characteristics are you looking for in the next superintendent?
First and foremost, I would say well-educated. I would say someone who is going to reach out to the community, someone who understands that we are a very diverse community, someone who may have some of the financial background as well as educational background, so that when we're all talking budgets and talking finance, that they're on par when it comes to that aspect as well, because that's going to be huge going forward, is going to be the financials. I would say somebody that the community can connect with. I think that we did have that in Dr. McCoy. I think that the community definitely connected with Dr. McCoy. So I would hope that we can have that same connection. But I'm not looking for a replacement for a man. I'm looking for a replacement for the position.
We use a 3-minute, 2-minute questions.
Yes, the format we're trying to get as many as possible. Mr. Savala, what qualities and characteristics are you looking for in the next superintendent?
Well, I'm looking for someone, first of all, that's really bright and kind of brilliant. Mrs. Ben just spoke on, we had that in Dr. McCoy, very bright. We need someone who can also tap into our children, connect to each child. I mean, they've got, let's say, spoil or a certain standard. Our principals have also too, when the children are energized because they like what they see. We need also a superintendent that fits our district in the sense that we are a very different cultural district. We are kind of an urban community in a sense. So we need the superintendent that connects to that piece. We have to have a superintendent that has tough skin. They're going to have to be strong-minded people. hopefully experience in a sense of dealing with big issues and pressure that comes along with that, raising finances and all that. But we need that type of superintendent. We also have to have someone that's accessible. But they're going to be busy. I think we connect with our principals and the teachers, but they can be very busy in setting an accreditation standard and hope to the one that we also have in place already. Tough standard.
Ms. Thurman, what qualities and characteristics are you looking for in the next superintendent?
Many of what they've already said, but I would like to make sure that we have a superintendent, he or she, who is first of all child-centered. Of course, they have to be intelligent and qualified and have all the letters behind their names, but to be able to use that in a way that is going to benefit our community. I would love to have someone who is visible. Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and pause our forum. I'm gonna ask you guys to exit the gym. You may go ahead in the middle hallway here, stand across the walls, please, stay away from the windows.